I'm excited because it's Healing Tuesday, y'all. Hey, everybody. You know, we got to start out with our song, right? Hopefully, you can hear it. Yeah, it's loud enough. We're still on the topic. One more night, one more Healing Tuesday of how to love. You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. So we're going to listen to the song while we wait for everybody to get on. Figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it together. How to love. How to love. When you were just a young girl, your looks were so good. Good evening, Jonathan. Now you're grown up so fly, it's like a blessing, but you can't have a man look at you for 5 seconds without you feeling insecure. You never got it yourself, so when you got older, it seems like it came back 10 times over. Now you're sitting here in this corner, looking over your thoughts. Gotta tell Facebook I do not own the rights to this music and Instagram. Huh? What?
Why does it sound like the Quiet Storm up in here?
You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had the could ever figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Yeah, you better get up. Trying to put it together. As long as you're not snoring in the background.
Don't say that.
So I'm so excited because this is our last one, but this is a really good one. Not that the other ones were. You hear the words? I want you to know you're far from the usual. You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had luck, couldn't ever figure out how to love. My girlfriend is enjoying your music. This is solely what this topic is about. That's why I'm playing it. Jonathan. How to love. It's become one of my favorite songs, y'all. To be honest with you. For those who have not been tuned in to this series for the month of February, and I know we're in March, but I had to take one Tuesday off because of the passing of my aunt. But this song is actually a Lil Wayne song that Christy Dachelle made into a jazz tune. I'm not a lover of jazz, but I'm a lover of Christy Dachelle. So, yeah, she spun that Lil Wayne song, Jonathan, into this. So, as I've been listening to this song, and I've been listening to it for a while, it just jumped out at me that this was something that we needed to talk about as I close her out. But how to love. She says, you had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. You never had luck and never really could figure it out how to love. You've had a lot of moments that didn't last forever, but now you're all grown up trying to put it all together. And how many of us who grew up without our fathers can relate to that? There's a season in many of our lives where we just go on and we can't quite figure out how to put everything together. And I know we're still waiting for a few people to get on here. And I know most times a sister would be on late, but I figured out how to use Be Live successfully and get on here on time. Hey, Caro, how are you? And I see someone else on here that I don't know, but tonight we're going to talk about how to love and why do you love who you love, right? That's a long term, but my husband and I were trying to figure out how to kind of condense it tonight as we're talking about deprivations in our relationships, especially growing up fatherless, recognizing your attractions of deprivation and what that looks like. How do you find the people that you find, or do they find you? Are you attracting the wrong people? I want to kind of cover a few things. Hey, Mary Anthony, how are you? I want to cover a few things tonight just by breaking down the different types and personality types and how we get to this place. There's something that I read earlier that I do want to read almost verbatim here. It says, all of us are attracted to a particular type that stops us dead in our tracks: a physical type, an emotional type, and a personality type. These iconic attractions make us weak in the knees, and they trigger our insecurities as well. Yeah, as well as the longings that we had as we were growing up. And how does this happen? So, really, how it breaks down is this: even though we're adults, we still find ourselves attracting relationships into our lives from the unresolved childhood hurts and pains that we have, that come from betrayal, manipulation, abuse, and neglect from our caregivers. How many of you know you had a narcissistic parent, but somehow you ended up with a narcissistic boyfriend or spouse or girlfriend, right? And you were like, how did that happen? It happened because unconsciously, we were all seeking to heal these wounds in our intimate relationships that occurred in our parental relationships, right? I know some of you are like, what does that mean? It means that you are dating your parent. You're dating the dysfunctional parent in your life, and you didn't know it at the time when you chose that person. And you probably, some of you may be dating that person right now, and you don't know it, or you didn't know it until just now. You'll say things like, they remind me of my mother, or they remind me of my father. And not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff. Like the stuff that made you want to leave home early, the stuff that made you not talk to that person um, ever again. Like you're like, I'm not talking to them again in this life. Yes, Jesse, not only familiarity, you're familiar with the dysfunction. And so you attract this person simply because they are similar to the parent that you didn't like. How did you attract that parent? It says our psyche seeks to recreate the scene of the original crime and then save us by changing the ending. I know I'm pretty bad at this. I'm gonna raise my hand even before I ask the question. How many of you have ever watched a movie at least 3, 4, 5 times and you're wishing you could change the ending? That's what many of us are doing in our relationships. We are recreating the original crime, the scene of the original crime in our adult relationships, trying to change the ending. We're hoping that this person is like the original perpetrator, or they've now replaced this person and now they're going to apologize. They're going to say they're sorry. They're going to change their mind. They're not going to break our trust anymore. But what you end up doing is creating the same crime scene, which hurts you even more in your adult life. And it then reaffirms what you believed in the first place. Seeking comfort in familiarity. Absolutely. Seeking comfort in dysfunction. How do you seek comfort in that much dysfunction? We do it all the time because I've heard it time and time again. My husband and I mentioned this on something earlier. My husband showed me a video, and this video was about Kobe Bryant and the memorial that they had for him and what's his name? Jalen Rose. I should know this name. Fab Five. Go Blue. Um, and he was talking about how Kobe Bryant was this father, this young old man, and he was all about going home to his family, and he was that guy. And Jalen came from a broken home. Kobe didn't. They felt like he was more mature because he had grown up overseas. His father had played overseas, so he had this different way about him. However, Jalen came from a broken home, and his goal was not to repeat that. It was to be present. Somehow he repeated that. Somehow the very thing that he said he didn't want, he then had in his life. How do we get to that place where we're constantly repeating the same things that we say we don't want to repeat? It's simply because we are trying to recreate this original crime scene with a person who we naturally are attracted to, but it's for all the wrong reasons. And that's why tonight, as we're talking about how to love and why do we love who we love who we love most times, especially in these moments that I'm referring to, this attraction of deprivation. The reason we're in this place is because we're trying to make amends with concerning the dysfunction that we had with our parents growing up, whether it was our single mom, whether it was our absent father, or our father who was in and out of our lives, or he promised make promises and he wasn't there when he was supposed to be there, and all of that. And then somehow that same thing has happened to us, and we're trying to figure out how we can escape from, this prison. We're believing that we can escape from this prison of feeling unworthy by allowing this person to come in and replace what our parents did. But the truth of the matter of it all is our conscious our consciousness, it truly draws the positive qualities that we yearn for in other people, but our unconscious draws qualities which hurt us the most. And that's the thing we've got to be aware of. We're not aware of it because guess what? It's our unconscious, it's our subconscious, it's within, and it's something most times that we've suppressed so that we don't feel the pain. So sometimes you don't even know you're attracting this person for all the wrong reasons. What you think, see, Jonathan said, I'm living this. See, this is why I said some of you are you're like, oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, I did that. And some of you are gonna go, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I've done this before. Like I'm realizing it right now. You have to get out of those situations because they're going to hurt you more than anything. Some of you have even seen it in the fact that you're being alienated from your children, or you are not able to, you don't even know who your father is. And now you're in a position where your children don't know who you are. We are repeating cycles without our participation, or what seems to not be our participation. And that's what tonight is all about. Tonight is, how do we love who we love? Let me ask you a question. When you first felt that you were hit by that Cupid arrow, that first person, wait, first marriage was all that and more. Worst 7 years of my life. See, I was going to ask that. Shade had already jumped in on where I was going with this. So that first time you were hit with that Cupid arrow that we talked about initially in our first How to Love series, when we were talking about what is love, you were hit by the Cupid arrow, and you were hit by this arrow and you fell in love. When you look back at that person, was that person more what you wanted them to be, and what you needed them to be, or were they more like the parent that we're referring to? If they were more like the person that you needed in your life and they were great and all of that, and they helped make you be better and all of those things, put a 1 in the box. If they were just like the parent you were trying to escape from, the toxic parent, the dysfunctional parent, the parent who made you feel unworthy and worthless, put a 2 in the box. That first love, the first time you were ever hit by Cupid, right? We talked about Cupid having a blindfold on. Cupid is romantic love. Cupid is not a commitment. Cupid is romantic love. It's butterflies. It's I'm falling in love. I want to know if that first person you fell in love with, were they the person who helped you grow? Were they the person, that you needed them to be to help you be the best you could be? Put a 1 in the box. If they were not, and they were everything your dysfunctional parent was, your narcissistic parent, put a 2 in the box. Shay put 2s all across the screen over here on Facebook. Shay was like, it's a 2, 2, 2. She's like, it's a 2. I want to get some more people to chime in on that. I want you to think about that, because you have to think about it so that you choose better and you choose differently, most importantly. 2, my first husband was just as horrible as my father. Come on. I learned to grow, but not in the greatest way. Gotcha. Yeah, growth comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. So it doesn't mean that you're going to grow in the best ways, but you know what I mean when I say some people help you grow and they make you a better you, right? You get men giving the testimony, my wife made me a better man. That kind of thing. That's the growth we're looking for. That's the growth we're hungry for. Because some of you, okay, so Chastity, welcome to the conversation. Great to have you on here. And let me say this, I done jumped into everything on here. Share, share, share. My husband gonna get on me. I'm surprised he didn't say anything because he is home tonight. Share. If you know someone who needs this, share. And if you are watching this after the fact and you're watching in the replay, please put replay in the box. This is an engaging conversation. I do not know everything, so I love it when you guys engage, because we are all at different stages of healing. This is Healing Tuesday. This is to help us through our relationship issues, especially as fatherless sons and daughters. In our adult lives, we have continued patterns, dysfunctional patterns that are not beneficial to our everyday lives. So Share, 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 and just engage whenever you feel like chiming in. How about that? So let's go here. What lies at the heart of this hunger for healing? What lies at the heart of this hunger for healing? The answer lies in the depth strata of our emotional self, where we create what I call our myth of lost love. So let's get into the myth of lost love. How many of you know, number one, when you're dealing with a myth of lost love, you have a fantasy, you have an idea of what you want this thing to be, and how the world, you learn from your parents how the world is unsafe, how your parents are unsafe. So then you start to create rules around this thing. And that's what this particular, and I'm looking at a different blog when it's talking about the myth of lost loves. I had to jump over there because I think that that's really important. We have a fantasy of what this is romance and love is supposed to look like. And when it doesn't look that way, we then start to articulate or mold and build a foundation out of a place of dysfunction. How the world is unsafe, what we should do about that. It creates rules for us to follow to protect ourselves from new assaults upon our heart. How many of you, some of y'all got too many fortresses around you? People can't even penetrate that. How do you get love when you can't even when you got a fortress built around you like a castle? Because what your childhood taught you was love isn't safe. Vulnerability isn't safe. And what's truly happened is you're just simply not allowing safe people into your space. You've put the wrong people into that space. You're constantly trying to fix that relationship with that other parent. And many of us have not just had one relationship where we've attempted to fix that relationship with our parent. You've had multiple. And then now you've also probably had children with multiple people who are like that parent, that narcissistic, overbearing, dysfunctional, trauma-driven, trauma-ridden, drama-filled parent, toxic parent, right? So now you're supposed to co-parent with this person? Many of you aren't successful at that because every time they're around, they trigger you. They trigger you back to your childhood, so you can't get out of it. Why do you love who you love? You love who you love who you love because they're the parent you're trying to fix it with. You're trying to reconcile it with. You're trying to go back to the scene of the crime with and make it right. And it will never go that route. Yeah, I am, Brian. I'm always doing this on Tuesday nights, and I'm going to tell you, when Martha asked me to do that, I was just on another Facebook Live, and then I had a marriage coaching with my husband before that. So, yes, y'all don't know all the stuff I've been doing today. Tuesdays is my busiest day. It is my busiest day. But Chastity said, "Amen." Same here. And Kenneth said, "I love Dr. Torri because she has changed 3,251 kids' lives by turning her journey into a mission." What did I win? I can get you a t-shirt at some point. Maybe a pen. I don't know. I don't know what you want. So just know that yeah, Kenneth, I got another one today. So it's 3,251, which I'm super excited to learn. When I did my checkups today, there was another guy who he got a final order on point. I was alienated from my mother as a toddler. It continues as my worst fear. That cycle has continued with my own children. It's a terrible cycle. It's a nightmare. Yeah, Jonathan. I mean, the sad part is so many in the parental alienation community have no idea that much of the reason they are alienated from their children have very little to do with courts, have very little to do with the attorneys. It has to do with who they chose and repeating cycles from their family. It's the generational curses that are creating that. I know that courts have to play a part, right? But it doesn't have as much to do with that as they think that it does. We are fighting not to create cycles or repeat cycles, but we do it because subconsciously we've buried this hurt and pain that when he was alienated from his mother, he was a toddler, right? And so now he's having that experience. Studies show that if you were alienated as a child, you are 50% more likely to be alienated as an adult. And a lot of times when I'm dealing with my fathers, there's a question that I ask when they're doing their testimonials. When I ask them this question of where was your father, many of them will share the exact same story that they just journeyed through to reunite. How do I say that? That sounds crazy to me. Many of them will share the exact same story that they are sharing as their testimony of how they reunited with their children and what they went through concerning their father. But because we have an attachment to our mothers, there's no way our mother did what this girl is doing to me. No way my ex-wife ain't got nothing in common. My mother would never do that. And the chances are your mother did do that on some level. Doesn't make her a bad person. As I talked about on something that I said at CPAC this week, our parents are different than being a man and a woman. How do I say that? My mother is different than the woman that she is. And my father is different than the man that he is, right? So your mother might not do that, but the woman that she is might do that. Your father might not do those things, but the man that he is might do that. Because the man and the woman that they are still come with their own set of dysfunction and generational curses and trauma and brokenness that they brought to the table that they did not heal because they didn't know they needed to heal them. So therefore, you have to repeat these cycles like Jonathan's talking about that are hurtful, that are painful. 7 years later, buried my only child and was more broken than I started. Come on, Shay. Hardest part of healing is to realize you stay with someone because a parent who abused you led you to believe you were worth nothing more than the abusive life, this abusive life. That is real. That is an honest truth. When you feel worthless, when you feel unworthy, when you feel insecure, when you feel like abuse is all you're supposed to know and all you're going to know, guess what? You hang in there. You stick in there and you fight through it. And plus, you're taught, you fight through your marriage and you stick through it. And sometimes some of you are literally fighting through the marriage like Shay is talking about. And that's detrimental to who you are. And you eventually have to hit the eject button and say, okay, I'm worth more than this. This is not supposed to be my journey. But when it comes down to how to love and who do we love as fatherless children, who do you love? Why do you love who you love as fatherless children? Leans and relies so much on the foundation in which you were not only conceived, but raised in and trained in. You know, a lot of times when we read biblical things, it talks about being trained and not raised. And there's a big difference. And being raised is totally different than being trained. What we have to recognize is trained is what most of us are really getting in our households. They may not specifically sit you down and tell you these things, but what you're watching with your own two eyes is training you into what you believe you should tolerate, training you into what you believe you should tolerate and take. And most times that's a lie. It's not truth. And it leads you into a place of having this, I'm about to sneeze again. Having these attractions of deprivation and learning why we fall in love with people who are bad for us. And then we go and blame the person. That person doesn't know that they're doing that either. Can we let them off the hook tonight? Can we let people who are dysfunctional and had their own set of trauma and they threw it on to us and they didn't know, can we let them off the hook tonight? Can we forgive them because they didn't know either? Because they came from the same background you came from, and the reason they were drawn to you is because you were just like their parent too? Because you're not perfect? Mm-mm. So you got to let these people off the hook. And in letting them off the hook, that then helps you have grace and compassion for someone, realizing they didn't know any better either. They didn't. And letting our parents off the hook is a huge part of this journey. Because, as I said earlier, your father is not the man that your mother met. Your father isn't that. Your situation has less to do with courts than your subconscious acceptance in your mind that you come from a broken and alienated home because that's what you know and influence your choices of a dysfunctional partner. Say that, Kenneth. Say that. I'm gonna read that for the Instagram crew. Kenneth said, your situation has less to do with the courts than your subconscious acceptance in your mind that you come from a broken or alienated home, because that's what you know and influenced your choices of a dysfunctional partner. And you got to also recognize that you were probably just as much of a dysfunctional partner as they were, just different areas. Did you heal? Did you heal from your childhood? Did you know to heal from your childhood? No, you didn't. Because what we think is, I'm getting out of this house, getting away from these crazy people, and I'm gonna go on with my life, and I'm gonna have a marriage. I'm gonna have 2.5 children, a white picket fence, and I'm gonna show all of y'all. And then you have you have something like that, and then it blows up in your face because it wasn't built on the proper foundation, and that's healing and forgiveness. It's not easy to own this part of you. It's not easy, because when the song that I played when I first started the How to Love series, you had a lot of crooks try to steal your heart, male or female. I'm trying to tell y'all, yeah, it's a female singing it, but the original song is by a male. Yes, he's talking about a female, but nonetheless. And then you had this life, these moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up trying to put it together. How to love. When you were just a young girl, so precious, right? And now you're looking for these people who are supposed to come give you, this life that you've seen in Disney movies, this life that you've seen in certain places, right? And they can't give it to you. Someone pointed out, I think at my yeah, it was at my NBA All-Star event. He's been studying Disney movies, and he said, and I've got to look this up. He said, did you guys know? And I'm point this to you, Instagram and Facebook. Did you know that all the main characters in Disney movies were fatherless? I don't know if I've ever thought about it, but I'm gonna see if anybody else knew that. Did you know that all the main characters in Disney movies are fatherless? Did you guys know that? I don't know. I haven't done the research on it, but he pointed that out, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And so when we're dealing with that, these fantasies, we're dealing with. Ariel had a father. Yeah, but he was kind of a dictator. He had a father. He was kind of rough. Wasn't he rough, if I remember correctly? This is where communication in relationships is key. Ask, or at least stating you came from a broken home or toxic childhood can help a potential partner. Ooh, if you know. If you know that, though, Shay. Do we think that that's what we come from when we're in our 20s? I don't know. As well as give a relationship a positive step to grow on. Sadly, too many think they have moved past the past and don't see where they have not until a trigger happens in a relationship with someone who also is just like you. Yeah. I don't know if many of us know in our 20s. See, Ariel ran away. See, yeah, because he was kind of a dictator. So she had a father wound nonetheless, although he was present. So I was like, I got to do some research on that. But it just came to my mind just now when we were talking about this, because thinking about fantasies, where do we get our fantasies from? We get our fantasies from Disney movies. Ladies who like romantic comedies. Yeah, we like those romance movies. More and more, they're starting to point us in a different direction. But growing up, it was like the 16 candles. You get the guy at the end. And 16 candles, that thing was crazy when you look on it. When you look back on it, it's like, what? She wanted this guy, and she went through all of this stuff just to get this guy's attention. And eventually she got it, but it was kind of weird how that all came about. But I'm telling you, how we maneuver in this journey and in this life, how do you love who you love? You love who you love based on the foundation in which you were raised. I think we do just feel I think we do. We just feel, since we are no longer there or in the forefront, we have grown and moved on. I'm not gonna lie to you, Shay. growing up in a single parent home and I wanted to get out, it was time to go. And it was a season when it was time to go. And I can tell you, I'm still having issues with my brother because he felt like I left him there. And I wasn't intentionally leaving him there. I just did what I thought you were supposed to do as an adult. And I didn't realize how bad it was until much later in life when he was experiencing things that I didn't even recognize were depression and bipolar and all of these different things. But getting out of the house was all you think about once you turn a certain age. You're like, I'm out of here. And you don't look back. But just because you don't look back doesn't mean you weren't taught things and it's not carried with you into your relationships. The truth of the matter that I need many of you to know, and the reason some of you have loved who you love, is, let me say this right. Throughout your entire life, no matter how much you think that you've walked away, hey Layla, how much you think you've walked away from that life and that journey of growing up in this dysfunctional and traumatic household, this fatherless home, most of us will continue to battle that voice for the rest of our lives. And we will fight to tooth and nail to disprove that it even existed. All while, which is funny that psychologists have said this, you will fight it tooth and nail, all while stubbornly remaining super loyal to it. So you may say, oh, I deserve love. I am worthy. You know, we have all these positive affirmations, but in your subconscious, you're remaining loyal to the fact that you don't believe you're worthy. You don't believe that you deserve the best. As the song says, you deserve the best. You're beautiful. Many of you don't even believe that, but you say it in your affirmations every day. So out of your mouth you speak, but in your subconscious you don't believe it. Chastity said, so glad my soon-to-be husband introduced me to Dr. Torri. You're such an inspiration. Oh, thank you. Who's your soon-to-be husband, Chastity? Chastity. I want to say it correctly. Shay says, same with me and one of my sisters. And I was in my 30s before I realized her part and how she felt let alone. Yeah. How it affected me and her relationship. Yeah. I didn't know. And he's angry with me. I'm telling you, he is. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just simply knew I wanted to get out. I want us to have the best relationships possible, Chastity. I want us to be in positions so that we don't continue to have these broken hearts as not only children, but as adults. Too many adults are living with parental alienation issues that they can't even navigate because they can't even remember how it started in their own lives. They haven't tapped into the subconscious in their own lives. And you've got to get into that foundation and that deeper place in order to break through for your own cases. And some of you would say, oh no, it's corrupt judges, it's the family law situation and blah, blah, blah. And that's a part of it. I'm not here to say no, but I'm also here to tell you, if you look back through your childhood and your life and how your parents raised you and the dynamics between your mother and your father and what took place, you are reenacting and repeating cycles that took place back then in your own life because they weren't broken by your parents for you to move forward and in a place where you didn't have to overcome. So now you have to overcome so the next generation doesn't have to. So those of you who are fighting parental alienation and going through custody battles, you've got to win this fight for your children. You've got to fight this thing tooth and nail, but you've got to fight it naturally as well as spiritually. You cannot fight it just naturally. You cannot go up against just the courts and win. That's not what we're looking for. You've got to break this cycle now. Spiritually. Because I'm telling you, you will repeat it. Your children will repeat it. They will repeat it. You will constantly, as it states, you will constantly be battling the voice for the rest of your life. And you know what voice you're battling? Let me go back to that part. The voice that you're battling is that you're unworthy, that it's your fault that your parents aren't together. It's your fault that your parents had limitations. It's your fault that you're unlovable. And it begins to, and it continues to damage you, where you're articulating all these flaws that you have, which makes you unworthy of the love that you see and you desire. So then you succumb and you settle to dysfunction. You settle to brokenness. You settle to toxic people and narcissistic people, once again, in hopes of repeating and going back to that crime scene and hoping that you can reenact it and get a different result, that you can get this person to apologize and repent for everything your parent did to you. How many of you been in a relationship where the person said, I can't apologize? Oh, Jonathan, okay, fantastic. The person said, I can't apologize for everything that your parents did or your ex-husband or your ex-wife did, because that's really what you want. And that's why they're saying that. They're saying that because you have put them in a position where you want them to apologize for every person that's ever hurt you, especially your parents. And they can't do that. You should read my post, said something similar tonight. Ghosts of the past haunt us until we find the strength to find the light and see the positive, which is you made it this far. A little further and real love can be found in happiness. Absolutely. It takes time. And Andrea says, I'm sorry, I got all this stuff on there. I'm not using it. Andrea says it takes time to really know it. For years, I said it, but I didn't believe it. Now at 49, baby, I believe it. I still have my days, but knowing your wound makes it much better. Absolutely. I ain't been putting these up here. Kenneth says, we're told it's a 4-generational train if not broken. Absolutely. And Kenneth, let's talk about this because we're both in the shared parenting community. How do we get this across in that conversation in shared parenting? Because you heard the conversation just a moment. I think you were on just a moment ago on Mark's page, where they were like, it's corrupt courts and it's this and that. And how can judges go against what's right and wrong? There's so much to this thing. It's way beyond that. It's way beyond that. That they're not understanding the part that they've played. And everyone wants to wash their hands. They want to absolve their responsibility concerning this. It may not have been you who created the alienation in your household or in your situation. However, I can honestly tell you that you are carrying things from your family, from your generational curses, these generational curses that exist. Why do you can't absolve this if you have to go to a doctor's office and give family history. And then they can say, oh, well, you're going to have diabetes or you're going to have, if you don't change your eating. So what do? You change your lifestyle if you don't want those things. You change how you're moving through life if you don't want to repeat the same stuff. You don't want hypertension. You don't want diabetes. You don't want cancer. You don't want, right? That's why so if that's real on a medical and physical aspect, then how is it that this can't be real spiritually? Okay, I got a whole bunch of chiming in over here. Let me see where to start. Shay says, growing up in a bad place can leave scars and ghosts of the past that hunt us. And at times, so much we forget to live in the present. Just part of what I wrote tonight. Okay, got you. We do have to get out of the past and let it go, but we've got to acknowledge the past first. So many people go, oh, that famous saying, you can't move forward by staying in the past. You can't drive straight by looking in the rearview mirror. No, but you got to look in the rearview mirror every now and then as you're driving to make sure ain't nobody coming up behind you, running up close on you. You got to use your side mirrors. You got a lot of things to check so that your journey forward is without accident. It's without trauma. So we get too caught up in this whole process of not looking backwards, and not looking backwards will cause you to be hit from behind and from the side. Point blank, period. So let's see. Jonathan said, it's so hard. So many so-called experts are clueless. I've looked for help in areas forced with bogus advice from unqualified professionals. Now that's true, Jonathan. I get that it's hard. And I don't know who's qualified and I don't know who's not qualified. Because some days I wouldn't consider myself a qualified expert. I feel like I'm a reunification expert in that way. But I can't always tell everyone how to navigate their cases. But when I can look at studies and read statistics, and it shows me that those who we're alienated, are more likely to be alienated as adults, I have to acknowledge that that's a truth. And that's a biblical truth, as Kenneth was pointing out here. So I get what you're saying though on that. When I finally figured out my ex grew up in an abusive household, sex with her brother, alcoholic father, etc., I faced a torrent of rageful behavior. She even tried to kill me once when I tried to talk to her about it. I became the scapegoat. I'm sorry, there's so much more here for all her trauma and pain she can't admit. I know my childhood very well, and it didn't have this kind of trauma. It always extended. I always extended myself and try to help people. Oh, you were the. Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. That's the issue I have. They're called boundary issues. Yes, too nice. And after 20 years, I finally figured out why she was so abusive. And when I asked her about it, this led to me not seeing my son for 5 years. Yeah, it goes back to what Shay said. Sometimes we got to ask some prereq questions. And you're the kind of guy who wanted to help her. And so that was your attraction deprivation. You're the guy who subconsciously saw the hurt girl in her and wanted to help her, not realizing how deep the hurt was, and you didn't have the ability to help, or that she didn't want to be helped at all. And that is where things hit, where the rubber meets the road too. Because there are individuals who come from two-parent homes, and because they live in this world of two-parent homes, not that that's perfect, but it's definitely different, they then meet someone and they don't think that it could be something different, or they notice that, okay, she didn't come from, or he didn't come from a two-parent household, I can help. We can create that, not knowing the depth of the pain and the trauma until it's too late. Kenneth says, personal responsibility. You wouldn't have been in front of a corrupt judge if you had made a better decision, instead of settling for right now instead of the future. Cause and effect. Now, Kenneth, that's the truth I have to share with my men privately. When they come through my organization, and I've had guys tell me she knew what it was. I think I've shared stuff like that with you guys. There's a guy right here in Fort Lauderdale. When I tell you, he got a white beard, Kenneth. This man has a white beard. It tells you how old he is. He's like, she knew what it was. I got 20-year-olds and she said she couldn't have children. Kenneth, I was like, they still running that game and you still buying it? And I was like, and you knew what it was when you stuck your PP in her hole. I literally did the whole circle. This is adult talk. Did the whole circle and was like, you knew what it was when I did all of that. Because I'm like, you made a bad decision, love. And you have to own the bad decision that you made. Number one, you let her sucker you and game you into saying she can't have children. Like, I don't even get where that come from in this day and age. Like, this man is clearly in his 50s. He got a white beard. Like, he's almost somebody's grandfather. He's got a 25, 26-year-old. And he was trying to pull that on me. And I was like, you've got to own your responsibility. You have to own your part in this journey versus trying to throw it off on her as if she, something was off about her. I was just like, come on, you bought it and now you got to own it. And now you alienated, so let's get you in your daughter's life. And we did. She said, I didn't go through that much, but I've had to help my husband fight his demons and ghosts from his childhood and past. I'm just glad he and I are learning to heal wounds together, versus it be like that. But his ex and him did not do this. So he too went through, like you did, 6 years. Now this still hasn't seen his kids. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Shay. I'm laughing at Kenneth. Yeah, Shay, that we have to find mates who help us heal, who help take us through the process. And I've said this to you guys before. I learned that early in marriage, and I kept seeing there's a healing component. And then I got this blog one day from Jimmy and Karen Evans that talked about that, and it was super powerful because we subconsciously pick individuals who can help us heal. They have the anointing to help us heal. It's like what was just said. Who said this? I want to make sure I say his name. Stephen. He had the anointing to help heal his wife. She just chose not to. He had it, and he had the ability. That's why they were picked for one another. But because her trauma was so deep, she didn't want to go there. She didn't want to get into the nitty gritty. Kenneth said, at 50, you know the birds and the bees. Yeah, you know the birds and the bees. Yeah, I got to teach you the birds and the bees at 50. What we doing? And so that, that was crazy to me. So when I'm talking to you tonight about how to love, but I'm talking to you about why do you love who you love? Well, it's out of dysfunction. It's out of dysfunction. So I want to give you a couple of things to do to help you through that part. Number one, I want you to write down those traits. See, I want you to write down these traits, right? The traits of the people that have hurt you. Were they narcissistic? Did they refuse to acknowledge who you are? Did they make you feel unseen? Were you always frustrated? Did they dismiss your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts? Were they that kind of person? Were they always negative? Did they cause you to go into silence, into a cave? Were they that kind of person? And did you experience that? Put that in one column. Put in the other column how your parents made you feel, right? Are they equal? And then when you look at those, now we need to look at how did those particular things occurring in your life bring out certain gifts and talents and anointing within you? Because I want you to know that you're not experiencing any of this by accident. You're not experiencing any of it by accident. So on one side, the person who hurt you. On the other side, meaning relationship, spouse, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. On the other column, your parents. And then you can even turn it over to the back. Look at all of those things. What gifts and talents did those relationships pull out of you? I'm looking for the positive tonight. I'm looking for the positive as to how you got to this place tonight. We tend to harp on the negative so often. And we look at those relationships and we're like, ooh, that person did blah, blah, blah to me. But there's something that they pulled out of you that was positive. There's a gift that you begin to recognize about yourself from those relationships. And so I want you to go through all the negative, but then I want you to flip that paper over as if you're turning a page in your own life. And I want you to then write down the gifts and the talents and the anointing that those relationships squeezed out of you and caused you to recognize in yourself. Because that's when you will start getting the love that you deserve. When you recognize who you are, when you recognize the talents and gifts that you have. I know that I'm called to my husband, and it's for very specific reasons, because I have an anointing to not only be his wife, but to help him heal his fatherlessness, to help him step into some of the entrepreneurship stuff that he's called to do. We're supposed to do music together, and we will do music together. There are things that we're called to do together. He is my supporter. He is my covering. He is things that I didn't have growing up. And that's how we've been able to maneuver through marriage. And I will tell you, marriage, as we say in this household, marriage ain't for no punks. However, going through the challenges that we've gone through, we still press through and recognize the gifts that we have in order to bless this marriage and this union and to be who we're called to be in the marriage. Even times when we can't see it. Sometimes we have moments and we got to circle back and be like, I know God called me to this. I know this is the one God has for me. I know it is. Even though you don't, at that time, you don't think so. At the time, you don't think so. All right, Brian, we will see you later. It's hard, but it's necessary, because marriage will heal you of the things that you didn't know you needed to be healed from. It is a place of healing. And ladies, all these posts that I've seen lately where it says, oh, if your spouse really loved you, they wouldn't hurt you, or a man won't hurt you, and all that's fairy tale. Because people who are hurt people. And we're not talking about physical abuse. We're talking about maybe sometimes they're having a bad day and how they speak to you. Sometimes it's your fault because they're having a bad day and you trying to engage them in a way, and it's like, now they've got a sharp tone with you and your feelings hurt. How many been there? Me. How about give them a second? give me 40 feet. I need a moment. But we don't know that. And so we read all of this stuff. Oh, he's got to have this and that. And I'm launching my podcast. I was supposed to do it yesterday, but like I said, I've not been feeling well. It is really something going on in my throat. No, it's not coronavirus. So I just really wanted to launch it, but I am going to launch it in the next couple of days. I'll definitely have it released by Monday. And I'm talking about that woman, that fatherless woman who's got all that stuff, but yet she can't find somebody. Yet she can't find a mate, right? Why? He's right under your nose, girlfriend. He's right under your nose. And so that's gonna be my first podcast. And I'm telling you, we have a long way to go, but not as long as we think, right? We started out this journey. We've been doing this, what, 6 months or so now on Healing Tuesday. And I know some of you have come to the place of a place of healing that you've never been before. Because I've gotten those emails. I get that conversation from you, and I'm so excited when I see the emails. I'm missing my girl Nydia tonight. I'm sure, look, Nydia is in the military doing her thing. I get to see her on Instagram. And, I'm missing seeing her tonight, but I promise you, and Becca, but those people will chime in later, and then they will have a conversation. They'll start chiming in on the replay. And I love to see that replay conversation because it helps us heal even deeper when we're hearing other people's stories and their journeys as well. It is not an easy thing to do, to navigate this after you've grown up without your father. And then not only grown up without your father, you've grown up with a toxic mother. And then everything and everyone in life has reaffirmed and confirmed what you believed was true. Charles is trying to chime in, and he know I'm on this Facebook Live. But no, they're affirming and confirming what you believe to be true. And so therefore we have to continue to fight through this so that, like Andrea was saying, oh yeah, Shay said, where my girls? I'm alone. I'm right here. I'm right here. And then you got some new girls on here. Andrea's on here. Chastity's on here. So we got some new girls on tonight. Andrea chimes in here and there, but yeah. We've got some work to do, y'all. So let's continue to do this work. Let's continue to pour into each other and continue to grow so that we can get the love that we desire and we deserve. But like I said, tonight I want you to put yourself in a position. On the first page, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, put all the information, all the things that the other person, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend did to hurt you. And the same thing with your parents. And then turn that page over as if you're turning a page in life. You're turning to a new page in life. And write down all of the gifts and talents and anointing that those relationships have brought out of you. Because there's things in yourself that you would have never seen if those people hadn't been in your life. I'm going to get off of here because I got on here pretty early. And I need to take some more medicine and go back to sleep because I got to get up. Like I said, this is my longest day. I've been up since 7 o'clock. I had a break. And that's what Tuesday nights are for me. So just know, lots of things are coming up. I'm supposed to go to Canada, but I got to pray about that with coronavirus going around. And I want to be able to get back in the country. So I got to ask myself a few questions about Canada next week. But I'm supposed to be going to Canada on I've Got Daddy Issues tour starting on the 11th. I will keep you guys updated as to whether or not that's still going forth at this time. If not, we'll just push it back. And then Africa is in April. I will be working with the Father's Rights Movement of South Africa and some other organizations while I'm in Johannesburg. We'll do some events to help fathers navigate this part of the conversation. I need to meet with you. Okay, Jonathan. But we're going to have those conversations to help dads navigate and heal some of their journey, as well as fatherless children. Africa has a different dynamic. Their dynamic is they do have aggressive and abusive fathers. That's part of their culture, and that's been spoken to me from not just women, but men as well, who live over there. There's a culture of aggression that we have to navigate. So more than anything, my conversation will be healing from a place of forgiveness and not always reunification. I need to kind of, you have to structure based on where you are. And then I'll be speaking at a conference in Lusaka, Zambia for 2 days. And I will be opening my business, also launching my business in Johannesburg and Lusaka, where we will start with peer groups and we will be helping the children with our curriculum, Beyond Fatherless curriculum, to help them get the tools that they need to overcome the challenges of growing up fatherless. And then I will go spy out the land in Lagos, Nigeria, and Accra, Ghana, Accra is really for me to see where my people come from. I get to go back to my foundation and my roots. I don't know. I've not taken the test, but I'm pretty sure based on what everybody tells me, I look like a Fanti woman. That's a particular tribe, and I'm an Ibu woman. That's Hebrew, for those of you who didn't know. And that tends to be how I look. And so a lot of people, they say, you're Ibu. And I'm like, I've heard that a lot. I've seen that in my dreams. So I'm going to go and I'm going to venture off and to be able to see that part of who I am. And then when I come back in May, it is Fatherless Awareness Month all across this country. We have 7 proclamations coming to us from the different governors in the states where we're incorporated. And we will be doing events in all 7 states where we will get to do things, especially in Georgia. Atlanta, I'm flooding you with all types of stuff. Celebrity Lip Sync Battle is one of our charity fundraisers, and I got some celebrities for you. Okay? And I'm so excited about that one. And then we will do panel discussions in Dallas, Texas. We will do a panel discussion in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We will do some stuff down here in Florida. I'm working out all the details concerning some of those things. But yeah. Oh, and I can't forget the end of March, we just added the Stellar Awards that we're going to do a panel discussion. That's the spiritual conversation. I am here to help heal people, and I'm healing them as I reunite them. And like I said on another call that I had tonight, or Facebook Live, there's other people working on legislation, and there's other people educating and bringing awareness through their podcasts. We all have different tentacles, and we're all maneuvering, and we're all a part of that journey. So just know I'm going to keep you guys. Yes, Jonathan, I will keep you updated and let you know. It will be a fun journey. Trust me. I did the whole going back, and it's interesting what you find out. I can't wait to see what I find out, Shay. I'm so looking forward to it. So, like I said tonight, I am happy that we have gotten through the How to Love series, because now you have no excuse. You can listen to these over and over again on how to love. What is love, right? And who do you love? Why do you love who you love? And what was the one I did last week? Um, oh, Jesus, it went out of my head. What was the one I did last week? Which I think sometimes I do a podcast or a Facebook Live. I'll call it a Facebook Live. And I'm impressed. I'm like, wow, that was a good one. After I get off, other times I'm like, babe, was that okay? Babe, was that okay? Amazon employee in Seattle office tests positive for coronavirus. I'm gonna need you not to be sending my stuff from Amazon with coronavirus. That just came up on my iPad while I was looking for the one from last week. How can someone who is no one make a difference? Well, that's not fair. I dedicated the rest of my life for family integrity for all. You're not no one. I started out as, I guess you can say, no one. I don't believe that title. That's a horrible title, Jesse. No, you're not no one. I was no one, if that's what you mean. You just start. It's what I did. And then someone who was somebody, as they say, recognized the work that I was doing and put me on. And then it opened the door for me to be seen on different platforms and in different areas. So I don't ever want anyone to say they're no one. Do you not have a name? Are you not a celebrity? Sure. That doesn't make you no one. That just makes you someone who has a passion and a heart. I think purpose makes us all visible. Purpose makes us all able to move in what God has called us to do. And that's the truth. God makes something out of nothing, since you're going to say nobody. God makes something out of nothing every single millisecond of the day. Truly. And so that's what you got to. Oh, last week was looking for love, how to love and looking for love and what to look for and all of that. So those are the 3 How to Love series. But Jesse, God will make something out of nothing in a heartbeat. And I think he gets the most pleasure out of that. So if we're going to call it that, you just start. So how can someone who is no one make a difference? You start. That's what you do. Okay, Jonathan, I got you. I'm sorry, he went through this. He's obviously not alone. There are a lot more men and women also dealing with losses like this. The answer is equal shared parenting policy and family court. Well, we know it's not the answer. It's one of the answers, absolutely. But I know the amount of abusive legal action can be significantly reduce under equal policy. First off, you have to believe you are someone. I like Dr. Torri here said today, I will make a difference. Yeah. And 50,000 people later. Yep. She has a lot of people on her page. I saw that. I was like, excuse me? I can only get 7,200. I'm like, I don't even know how some of you are getting these crazy numbers, people on your page following you. I don't know. Let me see. I'm going to have to get off of Instagram in video, share story. But yeah, you just got to start. Because sooner or later, someone's going to recognize you. Sooner or later, someone's going to say, oh my God, I need to follow him. He's saying stuff that I like. They're chiming in on Healing Tuesday. Healing Tuesday, I've been doing this business for 11 years, but Healing Tuesdays was just something that was in my spirit. And now we have about 25 people on a regular basis, but it just depends on the night on how many get on and actually dialogue with us. But you just got to start, because we all started someplace. Okay? So Jesse, we look forward to seeing what you're about to do. That's what I'm going to say. Yep, take that step. All right, you guys, I'm going to call it a night, go get this medicine, and go take my NyQuil so I can go to sleep and rest easy, as they say. So I will talk to you guys next week. I will be doing, what is it? Thursday. Help is on the way. That's our Father's Rights Day. That's when we get into shared parenting and different conversations. We got into it from CPAC. That was a whole different conversation Tuesday with Jeff Morgan, or last Thursday with Jeff Morgan. But I'm Dr. Torri J. I will talk to you guys on Thursday with Help is on the way. And I look forward to continuing to provide you healing tools in order to get you to that place of hope, love, and reconciliation. All right, I'll talk to you later.